Hi, I'm Miss Leon.
I'm Mr. Nasso.
And I'm Miss Matt. And we are your tour guides for this virtual field trip to the Fountain of Youth, located in St. Augustine, Florida.
Today, we're going to travel back in time to when the Timucuan Indians lived in Florida.
And when the Spanish explorers landed in St. Augustine.
And when cannons were used for battle.
Are you guys ready? Let's go.
See you then!
Hey guys, we're about to get to the Fountain of Youth.
Can't wait! I'm so excited for this field trip.
Welcome to the Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park. The Fountain of Youth Park commemorates the 1513 arrival of Juan Ponce de Leon in Florida and the legend of the Fountain of Youth. People have lived on this site for over 3,000 years, since the archaic period of Florida's history. In 1565, Spanish Admiral Pedro Menendez de Aviles established the first successful European colony in North America at St. Augustine, and his first settlement was built here on the grounds of the Fountain of Youth Park. At that time, it was part of the large Timucuan town of Chief Saloy. After 9 months, Timucua resistance forced the Spaniards to move the colony across the bay. In 1572, it was moved back to this mainland to its current location. In 1587, the first Franciscan mission to the American Indians was built here and named Nombre de Dios. The mission remained here until the middle of the 17th century. Archaeological excavations at the Fountain of Youth Park since 1934 have revealed the shell mounds of the archaic inhabitants, parts of the Salois towns, remains of the Spanish colony, and the church and cemetery of the Nombre de Dios mission. There may be no other single property in Florida that contains such an array of important archaeological resources for our state's early history.
Juan Ponce de Leon was a Spanish explorer who was born in 1460. He came to St. Augustine, but, contrary to popular belief, he was not looking for the Fountain of Youth. He actually came for gold, silver, herbs, and most importantly, spices. It is believed that what drove him to St. Augustine is smoke from a Timucuan village. He ended up replenishing his water on the ship with fresh water from the spring.
Pedro Menendez was born February 15, 1519 in Aviles, Spain. King Philip II was concerned about Spain's possessions and sent Pedro Menendez to Florida in order to establish a colony, in order to attempt to prevent the French from establishing their own colony in the area. This led Pedro Menendez to being titled the founder of St. Augustine in 1565.
The Timucua were skilled farmers who lived in permanent villages in present-day Florida. Their economy was based on a combination of agriculture, hunting, and fishing. At the time of initial Spanish contact, there were 9 Timucua-speaking chiefdoms in what is now Florida. Sacher Iwa was the main chief of the Timucua tribe in the region that is now St. Augustine. The Timucua successfully lived here for 4,000 years and helped the Spanish establish the first permanent European settlement.
Hi guys, our next stop on the trip is the Timucuan home.
Let's go inside.
This is what the inside of a Timucua hut would look like. Benches likely line the inner walls of the hut, which were probably used for sleeping, with animal furs for comfort and warmth. At night, a small smoking fire could be lit beneath the benches to try to keep bugs away. A space inside the hut was also set aside for a cook fire and for the storage of food and personal items. The images that you are looking at are not of separate Timucuan homes. They are of one Timucuan home. This Timucuan hut would have been a comfortable shelter for 2 to 3 generations of a family, providing protection at night from animals and cover from inclement weather. Timucuan homes were mostly for shelter. Daily activities, such as tool making, food processing, and socializing went on in the open village, and so the home only needed to be large enough to accommodate sleeping space and room for a hearth to cook by. The circular shape of the building helped to make the structure very resistant to wind. Timucuan villages were also matriarchal, which means that the women were in charge of the household. The men were just in charge of hunting and getting food. This canoe was made from a single Florida pine log, which weighed nearly 1 ton. It was made using historically correct methods, which included burning and scraping with local shells and chopping with a modern adze. Some modern tools were used as well.
This Timucun Indian burial ground was discovered in 1952 by doctoral students from Princeton University while digging for Indian artifacts with the Dean of Archaeology from the University of Florida. Research reveals that some of the bones discovered were buried during the Dark Ages, dating as far back as 500 to 700 AD. No weapons were found with the skeletons, but bits of pottery and breads were found on the round platforms between the skeletons of women and children.
Hey guys, the next stop on our tour is the Watchtower. We're gonna go head up on up. Let's go!
The Spanish watchtowers of the century see farther to discover threats earlier. The system worked well but proved to be the town's undoing in June of 1568 when Sir Francis Drake with 2,000 men and 42 ships spotted a light in the coastal St. Augustine watchtower. Had the watchtower not had a light burning, Drake might have missed the town entirely. This is a great view.
We made it!
On April 19, 1909, the St. Augustine Evening Record reported an interesting incident. A coquina cross measuring 15 stones high by 13 stones across had been unearthed. The number of stones comprising the cross seemed to indicate the year 1513, which is the year that Juan Ponce de Leon landed on these shores. It was typical for Spanish explorers to erect or fashion a cross upon discovering a new land, thus claiming the land in the name of the Catholic rulers of Spain and the Mother Church. Coquina is a type of sedimentary rock that is found all over the world. Coquina forms in marine coastal areas where high tides and strong waves work to align, sort, abrade, smooth, fracture, and pack the tiny shells of marine creatures over the course of millions of years. The resulting rock is one of the few native stones occurring in northeastern coastal Florida.
Alright, our next stop is the original mission church, Nombre de Dios. The Timucun town of Saloy was renamed Nombre de Dios by the Spanish, and in 1587, the first mission church was established there and given the same name. Men had to sit on the left, and women had to sit on the right, and on the balcony on top was with the children, and to get up there, they had to climb a rope.
Hey guys, let's go ahead and watch the Discovery Globe show.
Within the Discovery Globe is a show that shows all the ship routes the different explorers took. Explorers such as Christopher Columbus, Pedro Menendez, and Ponce de Leon.
The Spanish bayonet had many practical uses to Native Americans. The roots of the plant were used to make soaps that were used in various cleansing rituals. The flowers are generally edible and have a delicate flavor. The fibers of the trunks can be dried and used to start fibers. The tough, fibrous leaves could also be used to hang meat and other foods for storage, smoking, and curing. The large clay jars placed around the grounds are early Spanish water urns called tinajones. They were placed under the eaves of houses to catch rainwater and were buried halfway underground to keep the water cool. The tinajones in the park vary in size, but all are made of fire-baked clay. This cannon right here is called the 6-pound breech-charged muzzle loader, or as I used to call it, the 6-pounder. It got this name because the only thing that goes down the barrel of the gun from the front to the back is a 6-pound ball of iron. This ball of iron can travel at a rate of 400 miles per hour and has a range up to 9/10 of a mile. This cannon can fire 3 to 4 shots in a minute, and 3 pounds of gunpowder are used for each shot. Now let's go see what the cannon sounds like.
¡Para España! ¡Fuego!
have in my hand is a reproduction of a Maximilian crossbow. This was Spanish style, very elegant, not too much wood, chunky wood on it like most of the Central European bows. And I'd like to kind of familiarize you a little bit with the parts. This is called the stirrup. You'll see why in a second. This was the prod or the limb of the crossbow, generally made out of spring steel. The Spanish like to use linen for their bowstrings. It didn't stretch too much. Down here we have what's called the nut. This is just a round piece of bone that's been carved to accept the bowstring. When you pull on the trigger, it releases it and rolls forward. The stock was generally made out of some kind of hardwood, in this case cherry. Now, this is how it works. You put your foot in the stirrup, lean over, and cock it. Now, this is a sport bow, so it's easy for me to cock, but the ones that Menendez brought were war bows. They were 150 to 300 pound draw, which is a little more than the average person can draw with his arms. So we had what were called belt hooks. These hooks hung down from the belt, and then you could hook the bowstring on it, and then use your foot to cock the weapon. No sights, you just simply knew where it was going to shoot and pull the trigger.
The Fountain of Youth is a spring that supposedly restores the youth of anyone who drinks or bathes in its water. Legend says that Ponce de Leon was searching for the Fountain of Youth when he traveled to Florida in 1513. But we now know that this is just a legend. Today, you can travel to the Fountain of Youth and drink water from it and see for yourself if the myth is true or not.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed our virtual field trip to the fountain.
Cheers to you.
Until next time.
Thank you for watching our virtual field trip. For more information and resources, please check out our website.